All right, so I'm going to walk you through exercise 11-2. I see here it says brief exercise, but this should actually say exercise. And because I'm doing this question, it's going to cover direct materials, direct labor, variable overhead, and fixed overhead. And this is actually one of your homework assignments as well in Connect. So let's begin with direct materials. So the information that we have is that the company was manufacturing an item and some commercial cleaning compound known as Carprex, and they are wondering what the variances are for direct materials, direct labor, variable overhead, and fixed overhead. So I've populated the spreadsheet here with the information that we are provided with. So the first thing that I'm going to do is have a look at my direct material variances, and I always like to put in the information that I know first. Okay, so I can see right away that my standard price is $2 per kilogram. So we thought that we were going to sell the product for $2 per kilogram. What we actually ended up purchasing was 9,000 kilograms. Okay, we actually purchased 9,000 kilograms at $2.20. Okay, so I can see right away that I have an unfavorable variance because I purchased the materials for 20 cents more than I had anticipated. So right away, I'm just going to put in there that it's an unfavorable variance. I don't know how much yet, but I do know that it is unfavorable. Now my actual quantity is given, so my actual quantity is 9,000. So now I can find out how much the 20 cents additional that I paid per kilogram created a $1,800 unfavorable variance. Okay, so that's my price variance. I'm comparing my actual price to my standard price. Now, how about quantity? We anticipated that we were going to use, we're not sure here, so we thought we were going to use 4.2 kilograms, and turns out we actually used 9,000 kilograms to produce all of the units. So for my standard quantity, I'm going to take my standard input per unit, the 4.2 kilograms, multiplied by my actual total output. And so that gives me my standard quantity. So I thought I was going to use 8,400 kilograms. I actually used 9,000 kilograms. So again, I used more, about 600 kilograms more than I thought I was going to, which created a $1,200 unfavorable variance. Now, don't pay attention to if this is a positive sign or a negative sign. Okay, it just all depends on which way you do your subtraction or adding. But at the end of the day, both are unfavorable. So an unfavorable plus an unfavorable gives me a total unfavorable variance of $3,000. Now for the direct labor, same kind of situation here, right? We thought that we were going to pay $12 per hour. Okay, so I'm going to put that information in first. Now, we're not given the amount that we actually paid per hour, but we are told we worked 850 hours and we actually paid out $9,265. So through that, I can calculate, okay, what did we actually pay per hour? And we actually paid $10.90 per hour. So I can see that we paid less than we thought we were going to. So I know that that's going to be a favorable variance. Okay, so how much? By paying them was at $1.10 less than we thought that we were going to. I'm actually saving, oops, fix this here. Let's see, how much are we saving? We saved $935 by paying them $1.10 less per hour. But as it goes most often when we pay someone less money, they likely work less efficiently. So let's see here. We anticipated that we were going to spend 0.4 of an hour, and we produced 2,000 units. So we thought it was only going to take us 800 hours. It actually took us 850 hours. So I have an unfavorable variance here. And so my unfavorable variance is going to be the difference between this and this. So I end up a favorable plus an unfavorable gives me an overall favorable variance of $335. Okay. So yeah, because we paid them less, that's favorable from the company's perspective because they saved money, but sometimes that creates people to work less hard, and so we end up with an unfavorable variance, but favorable overall. Having a look at my variable overhead now. So variable overhead is very similar. It's based on our direct labor, the company says. So I know that my actual quantity is going to be my 850 hours. Okay, so I can put that information in. It tells me my standard rate, right? We're given our standard rate. We thought we were going to pay $2 in variable overhead. And again, they don't tell us what the actual variable overhead was per hour, but they do tell us the total they spent was $1,650. So from doing that, I can anticipate what my rate was. So I paid less in variable overhead than I anticipated I was going to. So I have a favorable spending variance. How much of a favorable variance do I have? Well, let's see here. So I'm going to take my amount, my actual. So I saved $50 by spending 6 cents less on my variable overhead. Okay, again, my standard quantity is going to be the 0.4 hours of variable overhead that I predicted we were going to spend per unit times the 2,000 we actually spent per unit. And so that ends up giving me so again, we took more similar to our direct labor. So I'm left with an unfavorable variance, and the amount is $100. So an unfavorable plus a favorable, my overhead, my variable overhead variance is going to be $50, right? The 100 unfavorable plus the 50 favorable. Now, when it comes to fixed overhead, you can see that I've moved my chart around here. Okay, I've changed the heading. I still have actual fixed overhead on the far left-hand side, and this amount is provided to us, $15,890. But for my fixed overhead budget variance, I'm comparing my actual to my budgeted, okay? And my budgeted amount is also given of $15,800. So again, you see I've changed kind of the setup here, and I've moved it, I've changed it, it's called just my budgeted. So for fixed overhead, I'm comparing my actual to my budgeted, and I can see I spent $90 more than I thought that I was going to, so it's an unfavorable variance, okay? I'm not going to calculate the per unit or the number of hours because we know for fixed overhead, that doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter how many units you produce. But when we're looking at our standard quantity here, we do take into consideration. So again, what we're looking at here is the denominator activity. Okay, so our denominator activity level is 800 hours. And the budgeted amount is 15,800. Okay, so if I take 15,800, right? And I divide that by our denominator hours of 800, okay, and that's my SQ, I end up with $19.75, okay? So my $19.75, that was my standard unit, okay? That was the standard amount that I thought that I was going to pay. So for fixed overhead, we have to calculate what is our predetermined overhead rate, okay? So this is my predetermined overhead rate for fixed overhead, okay? And so then I've got my standard unit similar to above. Okay, so I've got the 800. So that's going to now tell me what my standard fixed costs were, 18,500. So I have no fixed overhead volume variance, the difference between the two. So at the end of the day, I am left with, don't know how the 50 got in there, I'm left with a $90 unfavorable fixed overhead variance.